Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unfiltered Flow ELSC, the podcast dedicated to the progression of the fluid power and automation industries. I'm your host, Megan Cook, and today, super stoked to have Connor Borwege from MJ Hydrostatics. Connor is the sales manager. What's going on, Connor?
Not much, just enjoying the newly nice weather. So that's been awesome.
Ooh, that's true. How is it in Minnie? I used to have to travel there in January and February. Mark would make me travel up there during that time, and it was horrible.
That June has come around. The weather's warmed up and it's sunny outside, so that's awesome.
Nice. Very nice. All right, Connor. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up with in fluid power right out of high school, because that's a very interesting development in getting into the industry.
Yes. So I graduated high school in the spring of 2025. And while I was in high school, I was kind of a big sports guy. I was in track and I actually had a pretty crazy freak injury in sports, and so I could no longer participate in athletics at the high school. So went to looking for a job, and I went to our career path finder person, and she had recently heard of MJ Hydrostatics in Owatonna, and I'm like, hey, that's like 5 minutes away from my house. So what I ended up doing was finding the phone number for Mark Johnson, the president, and I called him up, and he invited me to come out and have a kind of a walkthrough of the whole area, and I was hired like the next Monday. So I started there pretty much at the beginning of my senior year, and now it's been a year since I graduated, and I'm still there, moving up,
Hmm.
and it's going great.
That's awesome. So you're proactive, reached out to Mark, and you couldn't found a better situation, honestly. You were talking
No,
about it before we
no,
hopped on here, but the
yeah.
hands-on exposure and then just the breadth of knowledge that Mark has in the industry. That's awesome for you, Connor.
Yeah, Mark is an extremely knowledgeable man, and I've been absolutely blessed to have him be my guide in this industry. And so yeah, when
Yeah.
I started there, I started as a technician in the shop, so I was learning how to tear stuff apart, rebuild stuff, and I kind of progressed into inside sales where I worked closely with our engineer and learned system design, all that sort of stuff. And now I have progressed further into the outside sales position.
That's good. But don't lose that touch point and experience with inside sales and engineering.
I don't plan
It's
on it.
good way to keep
I
connecting
need to
and
put my
stay
hands
in
in
the
a
thick of
while.
things. So, before reaching out to Mark and taking this position, Connor, what did you think the fluid power industry was, if you even thought or knew about it to begin with?
Well, to be honest, Megan, I didn't really put a lot of thought into it, but hearing the words fluid power, my mind went to hydraulics, and everybody who's ignorant to the industry when they hear hydraulics thinks cylinders. That must be what they do. But to my surprise, it goes much, much, much deeper than that.
It does. So you're right. Okay. What attracted you to this opportunity in fluid power as opposed to going, a traditional path after high school, meaning traditional by, that you go to college, you try to figure out what you want to do, that sort of thing. Why did you gravitate to this?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what my plan was going into second half of high school, but I knew that I didn't really want to chase that 4-year degree, that college career, just because I mean, there's statistics out there that say upwards of 50% of people don't even use their degree. And I don't have a lot of that, you know, money to just throw it away on
I have
something.
two. I have two of them.
Yeah.
Neither
I
one of
didn't
them comes to play.
I didn't wanna be a part of that statistic, and so, being blessed with the opportunity to start at MJ before I even graduated, by the time I graduated, I was like, "I'm just gonna keep going down this path."
What was the first week on the job like?
First week, pretty overwhelming, I would say. Not that it was something that I was so new and ignorant to it, and the industry is huge, way bigger than I originally thought, that it was just a lot to learn. And I'm still learning, and I probably will be learning until the day I retire, and maybe even further. It's just so massive, and no one could ever understand all of it. And so, kind of wrapping my head around the whole thing, my first week was probably the biggest thing for me.
Well, what you said there is 100% true. And if you do that, you will be extremely successful. And that is continuously learning throughout your career. Because just like anything else, fluid power isn't your mama's hydraulics anymore. It's not. There's so much going on with integration and it's constantly evolving and fun. And then you get into the hybrid, so the electro hydraulic portion of it. And then the power gen and the data center space. There's so
Right.
many different application opportunities out there. It makes it a lot of fun outside
Yeah.
of the mobile part of it, which I absolutely love.
It's
But
huge.
yeah, you're approaching it the right way, continuously learning. What surprised you the most so far since you've been doing this, if anything?
I think the most surprising thing to me was just how massive it is. I mean, you had an episode one time, I don't remember who the guest was, but they said, "Name something that doesn't touch hydraulics." And I still to this day can't. Just it's so big, and that it's both really surprising but really, really cool to me.
Yeah, it is. Now I have to go back and look. I can't remember who that was either. I remember the statement.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yes, it was Tom Holsworth. Name something that isn't touched by hydraulics. You're right. What's something you've learned about fluid power that you didn't realize existed before or you just never thought about in those terms?
Honestly, not being in the industry and thinking fluid power was cylinders and all that sort of stuff. And then going into a company that is a complete niche segment of the whole market, and that being hydrostats. I had no idea hydrostats existed, and when I first heard that term, I didn't know what it was. But I mean, just the whole process of how a hydrostat works at its bare bones is fascinating. I'm a very mechanical minded person. I love to understand how stuff works and use my brain, and so hydrostats are super super fun, and I'm glad I got to learn that part of it over anything else.
That's what makes a successful sales engineer, Connor, is you want to know how things work, buddy. So you're ahead of the game there for sure. Biggest challenge in the first few months.
Biggest challenge in the first few months is, well, I've had like 3 different positions within MJ so far, but I'll say the first few months of actually going outside sales, the biggest challenge was just the lack of experience. For a while I traveled with Mark, and the way we approach as a company sales is relational, not just transaction based. And so being able to connect with people on a relational level, and Mark having all the knowledge of what's happened in the history of the industry, he was
Uh,
able to connect with people a lot more. And I am still learning all of the stories and everything that happened back in the 70s.
listen, that's part of it, Connor. But the bottom line here is and this is a lot of industries, but it is 100% true in fluid power. It is such a relationship driven industry. And knowing what's happening in the past is great. And knowing all the players and the people that are out there as you continue to cut your teeth and you learn and you're knowledgeable and you're offering your customers those system solutions. And, they know they can call you if they need assistance on troubleshooting and you'll answer the phone, even if it's on a Saturday afternoon. right?
Yep.
It's a game changer, and there will be customers that you'll have the balance of your career
Yes.
because you show up and they know they can count on you, and they get what they need when they need it.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm glad that's the type of sales I fell into. I mean, hearing, I have family that is in sales and they're more the transactional, just shoot for the lowest price type thing, and there's no way I could do that.
well,
I love,
that it's a whole different approach. I'm not
yeah,
I not that there's anything wrong with component sales or doing anything like that, but it's a completely different method.
I love the forming relationships part of it.
Mhm.
It's probably my favorite part of the whole job, honestly.
And a lot of the relationships you form will end up becoming friends and people that you talk to and hang out with outside of doing business as well, which makes it even more fun.
That's right.
What has helped you most to learn products and applications and that sort of thing?
100% without a doubt, just being in the shop. I mean, when I was in inside sales, my desk was right next to our engineer. That was amazing. I mean, I would ask him questions all day. We would have study sessions, draw stuff up on the whiteboard, or if I
You were in the
was
hole with Ben.
yes, yeah, I was right there next to him.
So they
Yep.
didn't have you out front. You were right there in the little hole with Ben. Good for you.
Yes,
That's a good
yeah.
place to be.
And you know what? If I still didn't understand something from the whiteboard, he'd like, "Well, I'll go show you." And then we'd walk out to the shop and stick our hands in oil. That was 100% without a doubt the best thing that helped me learn or
I
get
can
going.
imagine. I think that's one of the things missing today when it comes to formal training programs, irregardless of manufacturer and distributor. That hands-on and time in the shop. 6 months in the shop when somebody is starting out, you really can't gain the knowledge. You can, but it's a much tougher row to hoe
Mm,
trying to gain that knowledge without having that exposure and being able to see and touch and have an understanding of whether it's a pump, motor, valve. It it makes a huge
yeah,
difference to be able to get
yes,
your hands on it and see what's going on, for sure.
100%.
Coolest application that you've seen so far?
There's a
That's a
lot of them.
no, I know, but
I would say one of the coolest, I think, was a giant trash compactor, like a
mm,
drivable trash compactor.
yeah,
It would, the big it was cool to me because the wheels were taller than I was, and I'm, 6 foot, so that was big wheels, and, they were made completely out of steel. I mean, the whole thing weighed like 110,000 pounds. It was
mhm,
just a giant tank, and it was powered by Lindy's. That was
not
probably one of the
bad,
coolest one.
not bad, yeah. For sure. What misconceptions, if any, do you think young people have about careers in manufacturing? I'm not going to ask about fluid power specifically because, as we know, it's not really a known commodity out there for younger
Mm,
folks, period.
right.
So let's
Yeah.
just talk manufacturing. What do you think is the most common misconception about working in manufacturing?
So, before I worked for MJ, my previous job was working for a company that built industrial HVAC systems, and so, again, manufacturing. And one of the biggest misconceptions I heard, not only from young people, but a lot of people in general, is like, "Oh, you don't wanna be stuck in a factory your whole life." Except there's so many more positions and opportunities within
Opportunities.
manufacturing that's not, sitting on a factory or at a robot, pushing levers and buttons and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Makes me think of the 1970s or 1960s pictures of manufacturing floors that you saw previously, and that's still the mindset people have, I think. So, yeah,
Yeah.
100% there. Ooh, if a buddy of yours asked you if they should consider a position in fluid power or industrial sales, what would you tell them?
Uh, any position in sales, I'd have to make sure that they are very self-motivated before I would recommend that position. But as far as industrial sales and getting into the fluid power industry, I would say that the biggest thing is just a willingness to learn because there is a lot to learn and if your mind doesn't work mechanically or, you don't have the desire to know how everything works, it's not going to be a position
Not
that
for
is
you.
going to suit
Mhm.
you.
Uh, very good. Where do you hope your career takes you over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I hope I continue down the same path, just further along. I want to have my a more established clientele. I want to be able to have more sales guys to train in under me, and I enjoy. I think I would enjoy a management position more and more as I get further into it, and so maybe as I get older, traveling a little less and kind of shifting into more of the manager of other sales guys would be cool.
Leadership role? Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Let's see. What's your favorite part about, and this is the last question, and it's an unsanctioned one, but, outside of the hands-on experience and the learning that you get from MJ, what's your favorite part about MJ as a whole?
Think my favorite part about the company, looking not even if I did not work there, let's say I was a customer of NJ, I absolutely love their willingness to help the service side of things. You know, even if it's not in fluid power, I hate not having responsive companies or dealing with stuff that they just after they sell it, they're done. Their hands are clean. But MJ is not like that. They cover warranty and will go out and service stuff in the field after we've touched it and make sure the customer is taken care of every step of the way. I think that's the coolest thing about
He'll
it.
go out and service something that he didn't even sell, Connor. Let's be serious.
Yes,
To
yes.
help
And I
somebody.
have been on those calls. I've gone with them to do that.
That's yeah, it's the best part about how Mark and Carol run that business, for
And
sure.
there are some super solid relationships that come from that.
Mhm. Well, Connor, I appreciate your time. I love it to have younger folks come on that are getting into the industry and cutting their teeth and to have a conversation about it. You have a bright career ahead, buddy. So one of these days, because I keep telling Mark and Carol I'm coming up there, one of these days we'll meet. They'll have to let you know when I'm coming up for a visit. So we'll meet in
Yeah, I'll
person
plan my
sometime.
travels around your visit. Be here.
Yeah.
Glad
Thank
to
you so
glad to
much.
have this chat.
Have a good rest of the week.
Yeah, you too.